And welcome to episode number 38 of The Final Whistle. I am Kyle. Mark is off again this week. He'll be back very, very soon. But till then, you're stuck with me and some of my special co-hosts that I bring on throughout the next couple of weeks. I'm very excited. Yes, we promised to have Dennis this week, but unfortunately we had some audio issues, and in the scheduling, if we tried to reschedule, it just didn't work out. So he's going to come back at a different time to talk about probably football, more than likely training camp in July. But we did our best last week to try to get something, or not last week, during the weekend to try to record something, but we were having audio issues. So it's all good. Dennis will be back. We appreciate him taking the time out of his day to try to help us and come on the show. But we will work on that for probably July for training camp. Hopefully, if everything goes according to plan. Also, don't forget, next week we have a live show right here on YouTube. Don't forget, I have a special co-host if the audio and stuff is worked out, which I think it should, because I believe it was on the other end. It was like on the app. So hopefully that works out. We have a very special co-host. Our good friend Jose Pagan's going to join us. He's gonna help me recap all the things that happened in the draft. Maybe some news that breaks between now and the next time we go live with you, and then we'll be excited to hear you chat. We're gonna talk to you in the chat and get your guys' take on what you guys thought of the draft. So we are very excited for that. That's next week, and then don't forget the special show in 2 weeks. We are going to have an exclusive interview. We will have an exclusive interview with a very good friend, as he's going to come on. It's going to be a start of our interview series, if you will. We're kind of dabbling into something new, as once again our good neighbor Danny kind of gave us the idea. So we're going to try it out. We're going to try it out and see how we like it. And if we like it, we're going to continue it. So we're very excited for exclusive interview in 2 weeks right here on The Final Whistle. Well, it is draft week, as we have a lot to get to. We're not going to get to we're going to talk about some news that's kind of broken, especially at the time of this recording, as news come out over this past weekend, and even right before we came on the air with you on this to record on Monday. But it's draft week. NBA playoffs are in full effect. NHL playoffs are in full effect. MLB, College World Series is coming up. Women's College World Series is coming up. Great time of year. And then World Cup's coming up, so we got a lot to look forward to. And before you know it, we'll be back to football, so we are very excited for that. But yeah, a lot has happened leading up to draft week, and it's kind of one of the bigger news, as Dexter Lawrence has been traded from the Giants to the Bengals, as the Bengals will not have a first-round pick now. The Giants would have the fifth pick, and the 10th pick for this year's draft. And Bengals do give Dexter Lawrence an extension, a one-year extension. So he is going to be a Bengal, and that is very, very interesting, folks, as you have four of the top pass rushers in the game in one division. You have, for the Steelers, you have T.J. Watt. For the Ravens, you have Trey Henderson. For the Bengals, now you have Dexter Lawrence, and now obviously the Browns, you have Myles Garrett. So this is very, very interesting to me. Now, one, if it's about money, which it sounds like it probably is why he wanted to leave the Giants. If it's about money, okay, I can understand, and I'm surprised the Giants, with the kind of market they are, they didn't really want to spend on Dexter, probably because of his age and all that. But you got a good coach in John Harbaugh, who they just hired over the offseason, and he's going to be a good coach. He's going to I fully believe he's going to turn that team around. Maybe if it's not this year, it's definitely going to be the year after and year after and year after. They're going to be back to where, they were in the Tom Coughlin days. But it's very interesting. He's a good coach. You saw he's got a good track record in Baltimore, won a Super Bowl. Just his kind of, his welcome worn out there. So, but it's just very interesting. If money, I get it. Like I said, money's just a good factor. But he's a good coach. Who wouldn't want to play for him, right? I know I would want to play for him if I was playing football. And I'll be honest. Players should be flocking to play for him. He's got a good, like I said, good track record. Look what he did with Lamar. Even though he couldn't win a Super Bowl with Lamar, did win one with Joe Flacco, etc., etc. But they're going to be okay. And now it's very interesting what they do in this draft now. They got 2 of the top 10 picks, as I said, number 5 and number 10. So does this factor into the Browns' decision a little bit? Because they have a little bit of flexibility for the Giants, right? So as there's been rumors that they've been talking to Arizona State wide receiver Jordan Tyson. They've been talking to a couple others, offensive linemen, and maybe a pass rusher. Probably need a new pass rusher now, but it'd be very interesting where they go. It'd be very interesting where they go in this draft. I think it shakes up the top 10 a little bit, because then if you're a team like Cleveland, you're kind of deciding, okay, now Cleveland, okay, the Giants have some flexible room now to make two picks, especially who they're targeting. And do they steal Tate from the Browns, knowing that they got a second pick they could use, on a defensive or an offensive guy? Do they stick with Jordan Tyson? Do they go edge rusher fifth pick? Do they go offensive lineman first pick? I know they need a couple of those as well. So it's going to be very interesting what the Giants do, especially with that second pick. With that second pick in the 10th round, because I think you probably know where you're going with the first pick. Now, as I said, you have the more flexibility now. For that 10th pick, you kind of kind of play it off like you have 5 picks or 4 picks before the 10th one to figure out what you want to do. But it's been very interesting. I do think it'll affect the Browns. Now, will the Browns stay there? That's the question too. It might not affect the Browns, as that might get a shakeup. We'll talk about that here in a second. But it's smart on the Giants' part. I like that. As you the Bengals now are out of the first round, so now you're kind of set there. Because remember, they lost Trey Hendrickson to the the Ravens a couple of months ago because he left. They weren't going to pay Hendrickson, so he got paid and went to Baltimore. But it's going to be an interesting top 10. Definitely an interesting top 10, because okay, there's also trades with the Browns, but I think it's going to be a trickle effect, if you will. More of a trickle effect, to the point where if whatever the Giants do, I think people are going to look and be like, oh, okay, they're setting up for something for the 10th round. Now, would I be surprised they did not go receiver? No, I don't think. Well, I mean, maybe they grab a receiver if they do get Jordan Tyson. Would I be shocked? I would not be surprised if Carnell Tate's gone. If they take Carnell Tate, don't line him up with Neighbors. I would not be surprised there. But I think Jordan Tyson's a little more of the big body, so I think maybe they go there. But because then what do you do if you're the Browns now, right? You got that for now. You got the 6th pick that could switch as well with the trade. Do they do the trade? But because Browns are looking at, they still got a lot to look at too. They got the offensive lineman, wide receiver. They need positions. They need help. There's been talks that the Browns are going to go into a trade they could trade down with the Cowboys to like the 12th or 13th pick, and maybe the 24th pick to, I think it was moving up to like the 20th pick or something like that for the Cowboys. But so there's gonna be a trickle effect, and the Giants, I think, have started that, especially in the top 10. Now I don't see. Maybe the back end before the Giants. Maybe, who knows? Maybe the Giants use that second first round or second top 10 pick. Maybe they dabble in something, but there's just something going on. There's just something that's very to keep an eye on, especially if I think Carnell Tate's future is up in the air, because now everyone's like, oh, he could be dead set on the Browns, right? He could be dead set. He could be going to the Browns. Now the Giants are just lurking there at the 5th pick, knowing that, okay, do we take him or do we take Tyson? Because they're both going to be there unless someone trades up and feel like they need to grab Tate or someone like that before the Giants or Browns do, if Browns are still there. But it'll be a ripple effect, more of a ripple effect than I think most people see. Now, there's more than most people see, so that's gonna be very interesting in itself to see how that goes with the Giants, because then I think that forces the Browns' hand too, as we talk about. Do they trade down? Do they stay put and grab a guy knowing that the Giants got the second pick behind them, even though it's not going to matter? But then the Giants are in front of them again if they trade back. So you have to wait for 2 picks for the Giants that maybe you could have capitalized for the Browns on at least the 6th round pick. Would I be in favor of the Browns trading back? I mean, they got to, as we mentioned before in the show, they got to have a plan, have some sort of plan. If it's not going to be Tate, because Tate's going to be gone before the 12th pick. There's no way. If he's there for the 12th pick, then there's obviously something didn't go right with his draft review and analysis if he's still on the board with 12, which he's not going to be. So I'm not planning on him being there. So you're probably looking for the Browns. You're looking if they trade down probably at an offensive lineman. Probably the they're looking at that Proctor from Alabama. Looking at their Freeling from Georgia. And then they're looking at that Utah guy from, as I'm gonna see, forgot his name. I'm gonna look at it up real quick. But you got that Utah guy that's sitting there, and I doubt. Now I think the Utah guy. Forgive me. I'm just looking at his name real quick before I don't want to botch and sound stupid. So, but he's gonna be sitting there, and then you got to worry about, do they take two if they drop back? But you just never know with the I'm just looking at the, I don't want to get his name wrong, but Spencer Fano, I think that's his name. Looking at it right now, as he's going to be sitting there. So what do you do if you're the Browns? Monroe, like I said, Monroe Freeling, and then Kalen Proctor from Alabama. So I mean I don't think you could go wrong with any of those picks. I just think you need to be smart with it. Be smart with what you want to do. You need both positions, right? Now, does Jordan Tyson now? I mean, if you trade back, you take the risk of a Tyson or Carnell Tate not being there by your second pick, too. Maybe even first pick, right? By their first pick, they both could be gone. Then you're looking at a Makai Lemon from USC. You're looking at Denzel Boston from Washington, which I wouldn't mind. He's a big body. He's a big body from out of Washington that I think he could play. I'm just looking at something. Yeah, Denzel Boston. He's 6'4", 212. He did not do his 40 time this year, but I think it's gonna be very interesting to see what the Browns do. Because then I think it forces the hand if you do trade down. What other wide receivers are there? Unless they got a plan, they got to trade him. Maybe a trade coming with the wide receiver. If they do go both offensive linemen, or they go defensive linemen, or defensive, another rusher. But I think they're okay with the rushers for now. They could get it, something late in the draft, or second, third round, whatever. But I just think I just think that Giants pick could be a ripple effect. I would not be surprised if maybe we hear rumblings the Giants tried to trade back, but it's going to be very interesting. As I'm looking at the draft order now, yeah, because you got number one pick. It's probably regardless going to be Fernando Mendoza, right? Be Fernando Mendoza to the. So I'm just looking at the draft order real quick to the Raiders as we continue here. Let's see the draft. So the draft order. So you got the Raiders with the one pick. So they're probably going Fernando Mendoza to line him up with this new center they acquired, Tyler Lindenbaum. He's gonna be that's number one. Number two is when it gets very interesting. You got the Jets. The Jets are sitting there, and what do? Do they go defense? Do they go offense? You got Eval Reese from Ohio State sitting there. You got Sonny Styles or Caleb Downs, from Ohio State. He's sitting there. So those are two picks. I think they could go to number two, maybe, for if the Jets want to go defense. Granted, they do. Aaron Glenn, the defensive-minded coach, keep in mind there. But I would be shocked if they went anything other than, I would say, maybe a QB. I don't think they go QB. I don't think they do. I think they go more probably best available at that point, for being honest. Because Eval Reese is sitting there. Maybe to go David Bailey from Texas Tech. Who knows? I mean, there's a lot of guys sitting there. I'm looking at the draft prospects, but Jeremiah Love, I don't think the Jets go Jeremiah Love. I don't see it there. But I do not see it there. I don't be surprised if it's a defensive guy for the Jets. Eval Reese. I'm going to say David Bailey. I'm going to say either Caleb Downs or Sonny Styles. Now, do they take that Miami tackle from Francis Magola, possibly, to help with that line. I think they do too. But maybe they take a Ruben Bain. He's an edge. So there's a lot for the Jets to be desired, especially when they know who's probably coming off the board at 1. As you're probably going, yeah, I would say they're probably, I would be surprised if they went the wide receiver. I would think it's probably going to be one of the lines on both sides of the ball. So I would go there as well. So we move on to the Cardinals. Now, the Cardinals are an interesting pick as well, as I'm looking at the draft order. This is where kind of things maybe complicate a little bit, as there's been, kind of some whispers going around that they want to take, that maybe Ty Simpson, the quarterback from Alabama, is linked to the Cardinals. As you remember, as the Kyler Murray left, he is with the Minnesota Vikings now, so he's gone. And then you got a team with a Jacoby Brissett as a quarterback, but that's not going to last long as, Jacoby's getting up there in age, and you want kind of like a fresh new set of eyes and, legs in there and all that, especially with the new coach. They just fired their coach last year to get a new one this year. So they kind of want is another retooling, right? We thought Jonathan Gannon would be the guy to retool them. They're obviously not doing anything right in the draft, as they haven't been doing things right. As Kyler was hurt, he really didn't play a lot last year, and when he did, he was okay. But then he's off to Minnesota. He's going to be competing with J.J. McCarthy for the starting line or for the starting QB. So that's interesting to see. And then I don't know. I think. Is Ty Simpson there? I don't know. Would I be shocked? No, because they do need a quarterback, and this is probably their best way to go. If I'm being honest with you, because we're looking at. They could go out of, if they do go edge, or Jeremiah Love's still sitting there. I don't think they go running back. They got James Conner. They got. Wilson. I think they're okay at running back. Maybe they go one of the other defensive guys from Ohio State. Let's say Reese is off the board. Then you go maybe Caleb Downs or Sonny Styles if they don't go quarterback. Because if the quarterback, the next quarterback, is Ty Simpson, right? So he's the second behind Garrett Nussmeier, which I don't think he'll be there if the Browns pick, in the third or fourth round. I don't think Garrett Nussmeier would be there. If I was the Browns, I would definitely take a flyer on them. On him. We'll talk about that when we get to the Browns, but I could see defense again for the Cardinals. Now, if they do go Ty Simpson, would not shock me. It should not shock you, as it would not shock you. It would not shock me, and it shouldn't shock you, because I think they're going to need at least something to build around. And then you have like a Jacoby Brissett who could kind of mentor him for a year, get Ty, some snaps, and who knows, maybe Ty wins the starting job, and the Cardinals are just like, let's just roll with it and see what happens, So I think that's going to be very interesting as well with that pick for the Cardinals. Well, maybe they go. I don't think they pass up Ty Simpson. I don't. I just think they don't pass up a skill player. No, not a skill player, but a quarterback at this point. Unless they do, and then you're probably thinking they think maybe Simpson's going to fall, or you're stuck with a Garrett Nussmeier, a Carson Beck, or Drew Aller, who are the next three on the board at that point. But I think it's going to be very interesting, and the Cardinals doing that. I think, and then that will I would probably say, open up the door for the other teams, especially we move on here to the Titans, the Tennessee Titans. What do they do? They got another year of Cam Ward. They're trying to retool. They got Wendell Robinson they just signed, so they're trying to retool as well a little bit, especially firing their coach Bill Callahan. So it's just, what do they do? Do they get now? There's talks that they could be linked to Jeremiah Love, right? So they could use that power running back. They have Tony Pollard. They have Todd Spears, but so they're on and off. They're not really guys. They could be game changers, but would it shock me? No, but I just think, sitting there, you still got, maybe they take an offensive tackle like the guy from Miami, Franciscus Mangol, who, is on the high-rated offensive tackle. Do they go maybe a cornerback, Mansour Delane, who's sitting there? But Jeremiah Love's in there too, and I don't think Jeremiah Love's going to fall out of I'll say top 15 because I don't know where teams go. I don't think maybe it doesn't get past the top 10. Who knows? Maybe the Giants are one of those sneaky teams that will take him to set up a running back their running back room this year. So or maybe they do go Ruben Bain for the Tennessee, but I don't know. This is Tennessee's just like Cardinals. You don't know what they're going to do. Now, there's been talks that the Chiefs or teams want to trade, like the Chiefs trade up, maybe with the Titans or even the Cardinals. So I don't think the Cardinals will pass. I think the Titans would be more willing to trade down if they had to, especially if they don't like anybody that's there right now. I'm thinking they could get somebody later. The Chiefs are picking at 9. They're one of the wild cards this round, especially the first round, because they could go, right? They could go running back with Jeremiah Love. They could, but will they though? Will they go first round with Jeremiah Love is the question, because then you got other things. You got other things to worry about too, right? You got to worry about everything else like you got about what the Giants do and the Browns do. Now, I don't think the Browns are going to take Jeremiah Love, so I think he's going to be on the board still. I don't think maybe Washington does, but I think Tennessee's definitely a wild card, especially if they get some trade calls. I think you're going I would not be surprised if it is Jeremiah Love, for being really honest with you. I think Jeremiah Love goes 4. Maybe not. We'll see on there. So we move on. We talked about the Giants. Now, Giants would be interesting too. Like I said, we talked about who are they taking in the 5th pick. Now, I think they stay with the 5th pick. Do they stay with the 10th pick? Will be something to be desired about. I'm just I don't know. Just looking at this board, right? We're looking at this board of players that are available. Maybe they go defense with the 5th pick, unless they go Jordan Tyson. So I think. So let's say I would say either Tyson or Tate they're going to take. I think they're going to take one of them. I would be shocked if it's not one of them. If they go, would it shock me if they went a Ruben Bain as an edge? Maybe. No. From Miami? No, I would not, because I think you kind of replace the Dexter Lawrence there. So I would not be surprised if they did. But if they did take one of the receivers, then I think, it's hard because I could see them taking to replace Lawrence, but then they do got another wide receiver to put on the side of Neighbors, either Tyson or Tate, that are sitting right there for them. Especially when they got the future, the first round in their hand, or the top 10 in their hands with 2 picks. Would it be? I think I'm gonna say they go Tate. It's a little bit of a smokescreen with Tyson. I think I would not be surprised if it's Tate. But if it's Jordan, I would be like, and then I think the Browns will have to. I think this will impact what the Browns do if there's no trade before then. If the Giants were to take Tate, right? I think they trade down for the Browns, right? So we go to number 6. But if Tate's still there, I think you got to take him, right? You have to take him at 6 for the Browns. You cannot let him go unless you have a plan for wide receivers. Looking at the wide receivers, as we mentioned, so I'm going to go to the players here mentioned. Excuse me. Okay, so let's just say you got Mekhi Lemon, which I loved watching him play at USC. Obviously Tyson, but I think Tyson will be gone before the 2nd pick. Denzel Boston still sitting there. Okay, I do like Denzel Boston, big body. He could go up for the 50-50 balls. We do need that. We have more of the speedsters. We need kind of like a lengthy guy to go up and get those 50-50 balls. Omar Cooper, who's been sitting there, okay, 6 foot. I mean, he's a little more speedy. And then I've been seeing a lot of people for the Browns go to Casey Conception, who got at Texas A&M from the SEC. So what do the Browns decide that he's going to be there at 24 or whatever the first second round pick, and they do that? I don't know. So it's tough because I think the Giants are going to play a role in the Browns, what the Browns do. I really do. Now, I could be wrong, but just looking at this, I would not, like I said, I think the Giants are going to go Tate. Now, if they don't go Tyson, then, I think it falls right in the Browns' lap. I do think if Tate's gone before they get, I think the Browns do trade. I think they trade down with the Cowboys, as the Cowboys the, do have the, let's see, excuse me, do have the 12th pick, so the Browns would trade down 6 spots. Cowboys would move up. And then if they do 2 picks, Browns would be at 20 and the Cowboys would be at 24. So that would be in the first round. So I don't know what the Browns do because they need positions, right? They need positions. They need to figure out something. So it's tough, right? Because you're in a position where that second pick, I think, is very vulnerable now, especially when you're the Giants. You got 2 picks now. Like I said, you control the bottom half of the top 10, knowing what you're going to do. Because then that could force other teams to force a hand, especially if we move on here to the Commanders. Commanders are picking at number 7 now. They're okay on quarterback. I don't see anything on quarterback. They do need a receiver, I think, to help with Scary Terry and those guys. Do they maybe go? And I think going back to the players here, looking here, would it shock me if they went defense? No. Maybe they go with this Mansour Delane, a cornerback from LSU. Do they go maybe a tight end, Kenyon Sadiq from Oregon? They do need somewhat of a tight end, a big body tight end, outside of what they have now. I'm drawing a blank on their name. He's a former Eagle, Zach Ertz. Someone to help Zach Ertz. But then maybe they do they go another offensive line if Marlon Freeling's there, or a Proctor, or a guy from Alabama, Olavega Lone, who's a guard from Penn State. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did go a tight end here, or the Commanders do go like a offensive line type guy to kind of help protect Jaden, because we know Jaden and his injuries the past couple of years. So I would not be surprised they went there. Looking down, Spencer Fano's there, the offensive tackle. Another Akeem Mesidor, he's an edge. Do they go edge now? If Ruben Baines somehow falls to them, do they go edge to get an edge type presence? These teams are getting edge pieces now. Maybe Ruben Baines there for the Commanders to take at 7. So that's going to be interesting to see what they do with their 7th pick as well. Do they maybe go a receiver, maybe Mekhi Lemon or Jordan Tyson if they're there, especially if the Browns aren't picking one or they fall to the 12th? Would be very interesting to see. Would be very interesting to see as well So I think they're going to go lineman here. I like the lineman. I do like the lineman So I think they'll go. Would it be surprised if they went? As I go to offensive line here, would I be surprised if they went a Francis Magnoga, a Freeling Proctor Fanu, or a guard from Penn State, the Olavega Lone from Penn State? No, it would not surprise me, especially to protect Jaden. So that's gonna be very interesting what they do in the first round. Now the Saints, we move on to the 8th pick. That's interesting, right? As it's very interesting what they do. As they think they got the quarterback. I don't see him going quarterback. Do they go another offensive lineman? I think one of those offensive linemen's on the table for them, right? As they got Chris Olave, they could be in the play for Jeremiah Love, I think. Kamara hasn't really been doing much the past couple of years, so do they step in and if Jeremiah Love is there, do they take a dabble on him? I would not be surprised here as well, either. If they're one of the guys Jeremiah Smith or Jeremiah Love falls to, as they need a running back. They need some depth in that running back room. They really haven't had that. This Kamara wasn't really that type of guy last year. He was hurt a little bit, but he was like a Kenneth Walker. He just couldn't get it going during the season. Yeah, he had his spurts, right? But I just don't see I could see Love going to the Saints if he's there. I think I'm going to stick with that. If he's there, I like this. If they want a playmaker, now they do need offensive tool, but I think they could either trade back in or get another pick. So I like the Saints. I'm going to go with Jeremiah Love going to the Saints if he's not taken for the Titans. If the Titans do trade out. Now, well, yeah, I like the Titans. I like the Saints going with Jeremiah Love if he's not with the Titans. I think unless there's a trade where they trade up or where the Titans trade down and the Titans stay at 4, I think this. If the Titans trade down, I think Jeremiah Love goes to the Saints. I like where they are. I like where they're playing. I like, I think if they could get better QB play, I think their room's going to be pretty good. So I'm going with the Saints I'm going Saints Jeremiah Love here. Yeah, I like that pick. Let's go Jeremiah with the Love. That's what I'm picking with that one. All right, with the Chiefs. Now, this is no wild card. There's been a lot of talk about what the Chiefs are going to do, especially not being in this position for a very long time, the first in, God, a number of years. What do they do? Do they trade up? Now, this could be a possible destination for Jeremiah Love if they do trade up, as there's been whispers Kansas City would trade up with Tennessee to get that pick, but I don't see it happening. Could I be wrong? Yeah, but I'm just looking up the picks for the Chiefs. What they have is reading Andy Reid thinks they may go for a pass rusher. Do they go for a pass rusher? Maybe. Do they go for a Bain if he's sitting there? Do they go for another edge guy? Do they maybe get another offensive lineman? Because I think they're going to need offensive linemen as well to kind of protect Mahomes a little more. But looking at the edge, if they give it an edge, you got David Bailey. I think David Bailey will be gone in the top 5, especially if it's the Jets. We got Ruben Bain. I mean, you got a Keldrick Falk sitting there. Or do they go offensive line, right? Are they going offensive line here? Are they going offensive line? Will they take a Proctor? Would they take Proctor or Fanau or Lamu from Utah, both from Utah? Maybe they take again. I think one of those guys are going to be there. That might be what the Chiefs take, unless they trade up. Now, if they trade up to maybe the Titans pick, that's where I can see Jeremiah Love going. Now, they just signed Kenneth Walker, and Super Bowl MVP. Go figure, he goes to the Chiefs. So, watch the Chiefs. I'm telling you, watch the Chiefs, whether it's a pick or whether it's for Jeremiah Love or an edge or a tackle. I could see him going one of those 3 positions: edge, tackle, or Jeremiah Love. Jeremiah Love's going to be a wild card in this one. Definitely going to be the wild card because then you got all these things to play. You got all these things, right? All these kind of like you're in front of the Giants, right? Because now you're thinking, okay, the Giants have that second pick. What do they do at the 10th pick? So I think the Chiefs trade up. They want somebody, Now some of these plans could be smoke, right? Like people, they don't say blow out of proportion, but they give it out like they're like, oh hey, this team's targeting this, but then they realistically it could just be a smoke screen, right? So that it tries to draw other teams off. So I would not be surprised. Just looking at this right here, would not be surprised if Jeremiah Love has up with 3 teams: Tennessee, Saints, Kansas City. Those are 3 teams I would watch for Jeremiah Love, especially in the first 9 picks. Because I think one of them is going there. I think he's going to one of them. Just a matter of, do the Chiefs trade up to grab him, or the Chiefs trade up to totally get like a guard or a tackle or an edge. So keep an eye on the Chiefs in the 10th pick. They're going to be they're going to be something to watch in the first round. Come back to the Giants. We talked about the Giants a little bit already. What do they kind of have, the top round at the top 10. We talked about them. So now we move on to the Dolphins. The Dolphins, yeah, they're trying to figure things out. They fired their coach, Mike McDaniel. They traded Jayden Waddle to the Denver Broncos, so they're kind of rebuilding at this point. So it's interesting what they do. Do they go best available? Do they go a specific player? It's tough, right? I don't know where they go. Just looking at the board, I don't know. I think they go best available, regardless of who it is. To be honest with you, now could that be a Sonny Styles at linebacker? Could that be a Mansur Delane at cornerback if he's still there? Do they get another wide receiver if Makai Lemon's still there? I think one of those could be gone off the board. Now if they go tackle, maybe, or Jamon Okoye, Proctor. I think maybe they go more of a protector. So like maybe, or do they go wide receiver to try to? Because they have Ty Hill, right? Ty Hill's still sitting there. But then you need somebody else. So are they in the market for Makai Lemon? Knowing that they need another playmaker. They're having problems with Achan. How long is Achan going to be there? I don't think they'll be in the running for Love. So we cross him off the board. But looking at the running backs, you got falling off. There's Mike Washington from Arkansas, Nick Singleton. I don't think a running back after Love will be picked, especially this early in the draft. Maybe later on in the first round, but I would think the Dolphins will either go wide receiver or they go. Would they go edge maybe, possibly, but I think I would. Yeah, I'm just looking at the edges here. Maybe a Keldrick Falk or Zion Young, who he's from Missouri, but I just think. I think they go. I think I would not. I would not be surprised if they go wide receiver. Now, as I said, they could go tackle to kind of protect Tua so he doesn't get hurt. Absolutely, 100%. But I don't see him going anywhere up. I don't think they go quarterback. This is interesting. Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. I'm looking at this. I could see them going receiver. I really can. For some reason, they need a receiver, and I think a Makai Lemon, or no, maybe Denzel Boston, but I think Denzel Boston will be later first round. This is tough for Miami. I think they go. I'm gonna stick to it. I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I think they go wide receiver. I think they go Makai Lemon. And I think they get a guy to help Hill. They're going to need a receiver at some point. In the top 11, he's probably going to be there. Why not take him? And then you can work around. I don't believe they have a second round or another pick in the first round. I could be wrong. They do. They have the 30th pick. So, or do they wait? Do they wait in the 30th pick and do they go Denzel Boston maybe, knowing he's going to be there? So there's a lot of decisions to make if they wait. Now, with that second pick, knowing they have the second pick, do they go, like I said, do they go tackle? Or do they go defensive lineman, which they could go both sides of the ball here. I think they do go receiver, one of their picks. And I think it's either Makai Lemon or Denzel Boston, if I'm being really honest with you. It could go either way, though. I think they go receiver one. I don't know which one they go with. It could be both. It could be none. But I think you got to get a playmaker in there. Now, maybe they go tight end. They have Waller, but they could use another tight end if that's Sadiq sitting there. Maybe do they go Sadiq? Maybe. Maybe not. But see, with these second picks, you kind of play with it. Now, who knows if they'll be there at the second pick, especially that late in the draft. They could just trade it and get a extra second round pick or something, especially if their guy's not there or gets taken before they get to them. So it'd be very interesting to see what they do. Will they go? Yeah, it'd be very interesting what they do. I think a receiver's on the board for them regardless of where they take them. But I just think if they have a feeling to trade out of the late first round, I think they go with the 11th pick. I think they get a wide receiver 11th pick. So I'm going to stick to that. Let's stick to that. We're going Makai Lemon for the Dolphins. All right, as I'm just pulling up more of this here. Well, the Cowboys. Now we talk about the Cowboys. They're kind of lurking to make a trade to get into the top 10, right? Focus, if they get in the top 10, sound like it would be an edge. Again, could be smoke and mirrors. Who knows? Do they trade with the Browns? That's the thing. Are they trading with the Browns to get another pick or to get in the top 10, knowing that the Browns they both have 2 picks to work with in the first round. So unless the Browns are okay with not getting a Carnell Tate and they're going to go at least a first pick, a tackle, I think this is the trade they do. This is the trade they do, and they get there. This is tough. You see, when the draft starts going, especially after like the top five, you're like, things maybe start going into a wrench, right? Like you're trying to put a mock draft together, and you're trying to think of teams that you think would pick, right? Or think that with teams you think they would pick based off their needs, but could go totally other direction. We've seen it time and time again. Now, if they do trade up, it's probably with the Browns. I don't think they're trading with the Giants, especially division rival. Do they go? I think if they trade up, they go defensive edge. Either it's Bain or Bailey. But again, I think the Jets are going to take Bain or Bailey. I think more Bailey. So I think if Ruben Bain's still there, I think the Cowboys will get up to get an edge, and I think they really need an edge big time. So I'm just looking, yeah, because then you got two players here that I think you could go, and I like him. I think they go an edge regardless. Now, could they go maybe Mekhi Lemon, a wide receiver, if Dolphins would not take him? I mean, they got Pickens, so they really don't need one desperately. They could kind of wait and get one later rounds, maybe another signed free agent. So, or they could go cornerback too to help. The guy from the guy from LSU. The best available. If they do go to best available, if they do stay down at the 12th pick and don't move up, Mansour Delane, the cornerback. Or did he go Jamar McCoy, or did they go safety maybe? They got the Toledo guy, Emmanuel McNeil Warren, sitting there. Everon Terrell still sitting there, Clemson cornerback. So there's a lot of picks to go. So it's just very interesting to see where they go, because then you got a lot to deal with in guards of the trading. This is when it kind of gets interesting. But we'll see how they go there. All right, we move on to the next pick, which would be, I'm just trying to get my thoughts here in a row. The LA Rams. You remember LA Rams traded with the Falcons earlier in the season. So the Falcons do not have a first-round pick. LA has two picks they have one. No, excuse me. I'm trying to, which one? Oh, yeah, okay. So they have the one pick. This is the Falcons pick. They traded the other pick to Kansas City, so Kansas City has two picks for now. We'll see how that goes, especially in the later rounds. So because remember, Kansas City and LA had that monster trade before the trade deadline that sent LA one of KC's best cornerbacks to LA. So this is interesting where they go, right? They got this is what they pick, especially when they have the it's very interesting. I don't know where they go, to be honest with you. I think receivers off the table. I think offense is off the table. I think they maybe go one of these cornerbacks, I think, to kind of line them up. Yeah, I think they go defense. I'm going to go cornerback. I'm going to go to LSU guy. I'm going to go Delane. I'm going to go Delane. I think Mansour Delane's there. I think that's who they take. I don't think that. Maybe if a Sonny Styles is there, maybe they take a Sonny Styles if he gets that far. I don't think Downs will be there. When we talk about Downs, I think Downs will be maybe in the top 15, maybe even top 10. Maybe that's where Downs goes. Maybe Downs goes to the Giants in the top, they'll pick in a 10. I think they go defensive guy. I think they're going to go Sonny Styles if Sonny Styles is still there, or they go to Mansour Delane. I think they still need a little help on defense, and I think that's where they go. I think, you got a good Sonny Styles, on linebacker, which they've kind of been needing as of late, and a cornerback on the other side of who the guy they just traded for. So I think they go defense here. I think they go defense to kind of spruce up that defense. They could get offense in the later, because I think offense could be there all draft, especially in the later rounds. The offense is going to be there. So I like where they're at, especially, wide receiver. They probably do need a tight end at some point, but I think they're going to definitely wait on that. So I think they go defense here, or maybe an offensive tackle too, a later offensive tackle if a Fano still there or Lamou's still there. I think one of those two could be in play for them as well, especially. See how that goes as well. So I think it's defense or defense, which is the two guys I mentioned, or two offensive linemen for the Rams. All right, we move on here to the next pick, as that is the Ravens. Now we all know what happens to the Ravens. I don't think they're going edge unless they trade down. It'd be very interesting where they go. I don't know. See, this is where it gets a little harder. This is very, very interesting. Looking at this is tough. Looking at this board here. As I'm looking, It's just I would not be surprised. Now you know what? I think they go. I would not be surprised if they go with center or a guard. I think they need. As I'm looking, I won't be surprised if they go like a center, if you will, because they lost Tyler Lindenbaum. Maybe a Jack Slaughter's there at the fourth. Jack Slaughter's going to be there. I'm going to go on another limb here. I think they're going to go Jack Slaughter. I think they need that coveted center. Remember, Lindenbaum's gone. He's with the Raiders. So I think to fill their needs. Now, could they go maybe a tackle, maybe? If they go maybe a Max Inschenker from Arizona State or a Gennings Dunker from Iowa? Yes, but I'm going to go center. I just think they're going to go center. I'm looking at some of these. I'm trying to go outside. I'm trying to think outside the box here. And I just think they're going to be in position to go for a draft, to go for a center, knowing that they kind of need one. Now, do they go offensive lineman? Absolutely. Do they go offensive lineman? Yeah. I mean, you still got, if the two Iowa guys aren't there, you still got those guys there, right? But I'm not surprised if I think they're going offensive linemen, just a matter of where. I would not be surprised if they went Jack Slaughter, the number one center in the draft from Florida, because then you got those two picks right there, right? You got your center back, and then you can kind of build around the offensive line again. But we'll see how that goes. Linderbaum was a big piece. You all remember he was a coveted free agent, and he's one of the best centers there is in the game today. So I would not be surprised if they do go. If they do go that, because then you could go. You could kind of figure that out for, if you will, like. Yeah, I think they're gonna go. I think they're gonna go Utah. I think they're gonna go Jack Slaughter. Now, if they take an offensive lineman, would I be shocked? No. I think, man, unless they have a center, like their backup center is in place already, but maybe Fanu does move over, but we'll see how that goes. I'm gonna go Jack Slaughter. I'm gonna take a center here, and I think that's where they go. All right, we move to Tampa. Tampa's the 15th pick. What does Tampa do? I think they don't go. Do they go maybe receivers? They just lost Mike Evans to the Giants or to San Francisco when he signed with them. Do they need another pass catcher right outside of Chris Godwin, Emmanuel Buka? I forgot the other. There's another guy, third guy sitting there, but do they go? I don't know where they go, to be honest with you. I don't know. This is interesting. Do they maybe go tight end? If the tight end's sitting there, if Oregon tight end Kenan Sadiq's sitting there, do they go tight end? Do they go at Sadiq, or did they go Eli Stowers from Vanderbilt if Sadiq's not there? We get down to this, it's hard to just figure out what they do. Especially when mid-draft, you're just like, what do I do? What don't I do? So, this is tough for me. I mean, they do have position needs. Would I be surprised if they went, a cornerback, like a defensive guy? No. Because I think they need that lockdown guy. They need that lockdown guy with, if even that Terrell's there from Clemson, which I think he should be, I would not be surprised if they went him. Just looking at some of these, or a McCoy, I think if it's not a tight end, I think they go defense. And I think it's going to be a McCoy or Avron Terrell. I think one of those guys, I think Tampa looks at. I could be wrong, but I think maybe need a little more defense. Now, do they do go wide receiver? Maybe. Do they do go a Denzel Boston, who kind of reminds me of a Mike Evans, or do they fall Or do they fall into the laps of Omar Cooper Jr., who's been sitting there? He's from Indiana. Or Conception. Those are two guys I think to watch out for if you're Tampa, if they don't go a defensive player. So I would say I would go more defense for now, especially cornerback, and then go with maybe if they don't, I would not be surprised if it's a receiver for Tampa Bay there. All right, we're almost through the draft here. So I'm trying to give my best mock draft that I can, and it probably sounds stupid as hell, but I appreciate you listening and sticking with me. But before we continue, I want to send huge congratulations to our friend Brad and his fiancee Sarah on a engagement that happened this past week. As I've met Brad through a couple of mutual friends, and every time we've kind of hung out and got together and shared a couple laughs, it's been kind of an some fun conversation and all that. And met his fiancee Sarah a couple times, and they're two amazing people. So I just want to say, Brad and Sarah, congratulations on your wedding, on your upcoming wedding and engagement, and hope the process goes well, and hope everything works out smoothly for you guys. Congratulations on your wedding. Okay, so we continue here. We're back to the Jets. Remember, the Jets had that second pick from the Colts in that huge blockbuster trade for Sauce Gardner. So what do they do here? Do they go receiver? Do they pick a Denzel Boston or Kyle Conception? They're sitting there, right? Or an Omar Cooper Jr. who's sitting there. I think they could. They really need a receiver outside of Garrett Wilson. They need a guy. And I think they go wide receiver here. I think this is one of the easier picks. And one of those three guys that I think I mentioned, they go with one of them. Would it shock me if maybe they made another defensive guy? A cornerback? No. But I think they could go with what I think they'll go receiver. Maybe they do go tight end, maybe Max Clare or Stowers if he's there, but I think it's going to be more wide receiver as well. All right, we're going to move on to the Lions. The Lions are an interesting team. Again, remember they traded Montgomery to Texans, so they kind of need a second running back. They still have their kind of offense in place, so they're still good there for now. I'm sure they're going to add, obviously. I don't know where they go. This is a team that it's like you don't know where they go, right? Like you wanna figure out where they go, but I don't know. I don't think they go. I think they go more defense. I think they, especially with how many times they've let a lot of points happen last year, especially 20 plus a couple times. I think they go defense, and I think it's going defense here just down the line. I don't know. It's just tough. I think maybe they go safety if they're there. Dylan Danneman or Emmanuel McNeil, both safeties. Do they go with them? Do they go maybe an edge in Keldrick Falk to help kind of Adrian Hutchinson on the other side? Or defensive tackle, Caden McDonald from Ohio State, Peter Woods from Clemson. I think they go defense. I'm going to go with a safety here. I'm going to go safety. I think they go Dylan Danneman. I think that's where they go with the 17th pick. I just think that's one guy that they think they need a little more defense than what they have. But, again, could they go offensive lineman? Sure. Could they go... they do need some offensive linemen as well. But, they need everything, right? Like other teams, they need a lot. So, I just don't think... I'm going to stick with defense. I'm going to stick to have them take a safety. Now, could they steal a tackle? Yeah, they could still tackle. If a Proctor's still there or a Freeling's still there, do they take them? Yeah. But I'm not be surprised if they went safety on this one. I think they can, and I think they're capable of doing it. So we'll see how that goes. Now, The Vikings are interesting. I think they go defense with an 18th pick too. And again, they got Kyler Murray, the quarterback, with J.J. McCarthy, so they're good on quarterback. One of them's going to start, and then you got Jefferson still. They kind of need a receiver too, I think, but I don't think it's a necessity that they could get him in the second or third round. They get a guy in the second or third round, so I think they go. I think if the Lions don't take Denneman, I think Vikings do. I think the Vikings take Denneman if he's still there, or that McNeil Warren from Toledo. I think he's still there. If he's still there, the Vikings take one of them. I just think all these position guys, especially on offense, you could get in the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh rounds. So I think you're going with defense, and I like one of those safeties I just mentioned to go to Minnesota. Panthers, this is tough. This is another team where you don't know where they could go, right? You don't know where they could go. I think they go if a safety's on the board, I think they go safety or they go a cornerback. I think that's where they go. They go one of them, and I think they're going to go either Denneman or McNeil from Toledo, or if a cornerback still there, which obviously they will be. I think they'll probably go Terrell, Colin Hood from Tennessee, or Brandon Class. I think McCoy and Delane could go too, but if McCoy's there, I think they take McCoy too. I just think McCoy's sitting there, or Terrell. I think there'll be Terrell or McCoy if those safeties aren't there, because I think they're going to work more on defense this year. So they got the offense kind of in place already. They're going to build around the offense, but they could build offense later in the year or later in the draft. So I like a defense, and I would not be surprised if it is a safety or they go with that. They go with a cornerback to kind of help their defense. Now, we talked about this, the Cowboys and the Browns. What we don't know what's going to happen, as Adam Schefter literally just reported, Browns are already taking calls about the 6th pick. They're open to moving it. So we go back to what we were talking about just moments ago. What do the Browns, if the Browns would trade with Dallas, they would get the 20th pick. Dallas has the 20th pick right now. So it's going to be very interesting what they do. If the Browns so let's say the Browns take a lineman, right? They take a lineman. I think they go receiver, and I think it's Denzel Boston, or it's either Denzel Boston or Conception. I've seen a lot of Conceptions mock drafts out there, and I think those are kind of your best available. If they do not go Tate, they don't stay and move Tate. They don't go Tate, because then you got Boston. Now, I would be okay with an Omar Cooper Jr. as well. He played okay he pretty good for Indiana in their national title run, but Denzel's got that big body. I would love Denzel to kind of go get those 50-50 balls, right? So I would take Denzel Boston if Tate or Tyson. I do think Mekhi Lemon's gone before he gets to the 20th pick, gets to the 20s regardless. So I like Denzel Boston, Omar Cooper, or Conception. That would be for the Browns. Now, if it's not the Cowboys, or if it's not the Cowboys trading with the Browns, the Cowboys are still sitting there. I don't know where they go, to be honest with you. I think they go defense. Maybe they get an offensive tackle. They get a Ginnings Dunker from Iowa, or Blake Miller, or Caleb Thurman to kind of help their offensive line, because I know they've had the offensive line woes as well. So if Dallas stays, I'm going to go, they go offensive tackle. I think they go one of the guys I just mentioned, an offensive tackle, and they kind of spruce up that line a little bit, because they definitely need it. And I think, to help protect Dak and their running, and, Javonte Williams, and help with that as well. So if the Browns get it, I think it's a receiver of Omar Jr. or Cooper Jr., Denzel Boston, or Conception. The Cowboys stay, I think it's Dunker, Miller, or Trinan. Or maybe if one of those Utah guys is there, Fanu or Lomu, I think they could take one of those guys as well. All right, so I'm just looking here. Crap, my fault. Back here, as we do have something else to talk about as we're continuing. The Steelers. The Steelers are interesting, right? The Steelers are very interesting in what they do. As what do? They just got Michael Pittman. They traded for Michael Pittman for the Colts, so they got their receivers, so they're good there. Do they maybe go tight end, maybe a Stowers or a Max Clares? This is interesting, right? It's just interesting, but they go. I mean, I could see him going defense or attack or offensive lineman too. To be honest with you, I think they could go guard. Could they go tackle or guard? Maybe a Chase Bazantes, or if Olavega Lones there from Penn State, I think they go with him too. So I think they go guard here. I think they kind of retool that offensive line, and I think they either go. I think they go that Penn State guy if he's still there, Olavega Lone or Chase Biznantes. I want to peg, like put people down, but you just don't know. Things are going to happen. So I'm just thinking where they're going. Like for this, I just thought, okay, I just think, where they could go if, people fall to them. And I think they're going guard. And they could go guard or even Emmanuel Pregnon if he's still there. Or I'm sure he'll still be there, but I think they'll take one at top. I think they go offensive line. Now, could they go tackle? Maybe, for sure. They could go tackle maybe a Dunker, a Miller, training, or maybe one of the Utah guys if they're still there. So I like offensive line for Pittsburgh for round one. To be honest with you guys, I don't see them going. Maybe they go cornerback. They could go for a cornerback if they're still there. I could see him going there too as well. As I could see him going maybe a McCoy or Terrell or Hood if they're still. They should still be there, but I think they're gonna go more. I think they go tackle to kind of help their quarterback, especially if it's a young guy. We don't know the quarterback situation. I don't think they go quarterback, though. That's the thing. They don't know what Rodgers is going to do. I mean, the best you're looking at, maybe a Garrett Nussmeier, a Carson Beck, or Drew Aller. Now, they were talking to Drew Aller. There's been reports they were talking to Drew Aller and, having meetings with him. Do they surprise people and pick a quarterback knowing they don't have Rodgers still in place? Like, Rodgers is still this thing. Now, Rodgers' old coach, Mike McCarthy's is the head coach of the Steelers now. So could that play in a factor if Rodgers comes back at least one more year? That's yet to be seen. But I mean, I think the wild card. I think keep an eye out for Drew Aller. I think especially if he's meeting now. Could they get him in the second or third round? Probably. So I would expect him. I would expect unless they really don't think Rodgers is going to come back. I think they're going to go either offensive lineman or someone on the defense, especially a cornerback. They need some better cornerbacks. So, but don't be surprised if this is the sneaky move, the sneaky Steelers, and they do Drew Aller before Nussmeier and Beck. Then I think we kind of now. I think they need a third quarterback regardless because they got Will Howard. And all they got is Will Howard right now until they get a commitment from. Will Howard until they get a commitment from Rodgers. All the guys Will Howard. So I think they're going to plan. And if it is Drew Aller, I would not be shocked. But I could see him going offensive lineman as well. So we'll see there. Chargers, on the other hand, the Chargers are in a very interesting place. I wouldn't say interesting, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on. What do? They got the quarterback. They pretty much could they add a receiver? Probably late in that round. But Jimmy, he's probably going defense. If I know Harbaugh, I would not be surprised if he goes defense. Maybe a defense, maybe even an edge as well. Maybe even an edge, a Zion Young or a Cassius Howell. If they're still there, maybe even a Keldrick Falk if they fall that far. I think they go defensive edge here. I think they kind of spruce up that defense a little bit. They definitely need some help, especially trying to keep up with especially if the offense does. So I think they're going defense. That's kind of an easier pick for me. I think they're going defense, and I think they go edge to kind of help put the pressure on, especially in that division. When that division is wide open, especially with we don't know when Mahomes is going to come back from injury. Supposedly he's going to be ready for training camp. We'll see, but I think they go there. All right, now this is interesting. The Eagles, what do? There's been reports coming out that the A.J. Brown is going to be traded, is supposedly going to be traded come June 1st. So, and Patriots are a likely destination unless some team comes out of nowhere and makes an offer that the Eagles can't refuse. So we'll tie in Eagles' 23rd pick and the Patriots 31st pick, since it's kind of what we're talking about here. I don't. Where did Eagles go? Do they go a wide receiver? Where do they go wide receiver? Do they go offensive tackle? Where do they go, knowing that this trade could be could happen? Now, I think it's smart on Philly to wait till June 1st, especially with money and salary and all that stuff. But I think, is there a plan in place? Like, if they know if they're trading with Pitt with the Pats, is there a trade like, hey, telling Robert Kraft, hey, draft this guy, send him to us, and we'll send you Brown at that time? Could that be a case? Yeah, possibly. But I don't know where they go here. Since now Brown's gone, right? Brown's gone. Yeah, I don't know where they go. I really don't. Oh, I don't know. Did I go tackle maybe? Offensive lineman? Maybe. Could they go defense? Maybe. But I think they're okay, a little more okay on defense than offense. So I could see them. If it's not, I would say maybe they dabble in a wide receiver, especially if they know a trade's coming. I think they go offensive lineman. Unless that I would not shock me if they got a wide receiver out of this. Knowing they did just trade for wide receiver Tavion Wicks from the Packers to Green Bay, so maybe I still think they need a wide receiver. They probably could. They're probably going. Maybe they'll wait till the second, third, fourth, fifth round, whatever, to get a receiver. But it would not shock me. But I'm going to go. I think they go tackle. Now, for the Patriots, at the 31st pick, we're going to tie it in since we're talking about them. It'd be very interesting what they do. Do they trade out of the first round? Because they're sitting there. Do they trade out knowing what they got coming? That they're okay where they're at. They can wait till the second round and pick there. I don't know. That could be interesting to see. Could be very interesting. If they do pick, I think they go defense because Vrabel loves his defense. I can see him going to defense. If they don't, then obviously we'll worry about a team we get there. I see him going defense. If the Patriots are there at that pick, I see him going probably maybe defensive tackle. You're starting to spruce up that defensive tackle maybe. Or maybe a Peter Woods or Caleb Banks, Christian Miller maybe. Or maybe they go linebacker. They go Anthony Hill Jr., C.J. Allen, Jacob Rodriguez from Texas Tech. So there's a lot of guys. I think Patriots go defense with their 31st pick if they stay there. If they don't stay there, then I don't know. Obviously, I don't know what team would trade up. I'm sure there'll be teams to get back. But I think for the Patriots, if they're there, the 31st pick, they go defense. It's interesting what this trade happens, folks. If it happens, I think, as I say, by the free agency what they're going to do in the draft. Now you know in the draft what they're going to do the rest of the way before the season. I think this is a big pick for the Eagles. It really is a big pick. It's a big pick coming up. You're probably, where do you go? Do you go tackle? Do you go offensive lineman? Or do you go wide receiver? This is a big pick. It's coming up for the 23rd in the draft. And then the Browns, we talked about the Browns, what they do if they stay there. Probably wide receivers. We won't dive into that. We talked a lot about that. So we'll pass that along. Now you got the Bears, the 25th pick. The 25th pick, the Chicago Bears. What do you do with if you're Chicago? And that's a very interesting pick. I think you got the offense set that you do. I think you got the offense set that you do go. You got the offense set that you do go defense. I think they go defense. I think it's very simple where you go with that. I think they go. I don't know where they go. I think they could. I think they need to spruce up that defensive line. So I think they go defensive tackle. For being honest with you, and I think they get more in a way. They get more away if they're still there. More of maybe Caden Donald, a Cannon Donald, a Peter Woods or Caleb Banks, they're going to be there. So I think they're going to go. I'm gonna go Cannon Donald. I'm gonna give them Cannon Donald. I think they go Cannon Donald when they get a defensive tackle. All right, the Bills. The Bills are an interesting pick. As what do? They just got DJ Moore for wide receiver. Do they go to a wide receiver early on in the draft, or do they use? I'm trying to think here. They got their tight ends. They got their quarterback. Running backs, okay. They could get it set back up running back later in the draft. I think they're going to go defense too, I think. They're going to go back to defense. I think they need more of a corner, I think. So I think they go cornerback here. I think it's one of the top corners. And I think they could go. I won't be surprised me going back to the list here that I'm pulling up. I think they could go. They go on his quarterback. A Colton Hood or Terrell, if he's still somehow in there, or even a Brandon Siss or a Chris Johnson. I think they go cornerback. I think they need to push up their defense a little bit. So I think they go with defense. All right, so we move on here let's move on. Whoop, there's that. We move on to San Francisco. San Francisco is kind of interesting too, right? Unless they trade out. They just signed Mike Evans, so I think they're okay for I mean, they don't know what they're doing Brandon Ayuk. They still got Ricky Pearsall. They still got Juwan Jennings for now. Juwan might be on his way out too. Maybe another trade. So could they end up with another wide receiver, just to kind of make sure their defense is good? Or did they go offensive tackle? I think their defense is good. They maybe need to spruce up the back of their defense just a little bit. But I would not be surprised if they do go offensive tackle in the draft. So I'm going to give them the best available offensive tackle in that draft to kind of protect Purdy, protect McCaffrey, get that offense going a little more, especially with Kittle still back there and all that. Texans, on the other hand, are interesting. They just traded for David Montgomery. They still got Stroud. They still got Nico Collins. They need a receiver. They just got a receiver. They got Diggs. So, they get. I forgot. Did they get Diggs? Yeah, they got Diggs, right? Or maybe did he not sign yet? I thought did they get Diggs? Right. Or am I? Let's see. No, he did not. Who am I thinking that he went to Texans? Did he? Who did? I'm trying to think. Who did they sign that to go along? No, so they do need a wide receiver. That's right. I'm thinking they were signing. I forgot. They were signing more defense, offensive tackle. So they did get White Teller, offensive tackle. I think they can hold on a wide receiver. I think for a little bit they can. So I'm going to go. Oh man. I think they go defense. I think somehow they go defense. I think they go best available, maybe defensive tackle, kind of spurs up that O-line. So give me the Texans there. Give me the Texans defensive line. Now, we talked about Kansas City. It'd be interesting. I think they probably go more defense. Depends what they do with their trade. They could trade out, trade up, depending on who they trade with. If they're still there, they probably go defense, cornerback. I'm going to give them a cornerback in that one of the best available cornerbacks. And then we talk about the Patriots. We talk about the Dolphins. The Dolphins in there, if they don't trade out, do they go wide receiver if they don't get one in the 11th pick? I think so, just to make sure. I think the wide receiver is sitting there. Just looking at the wide receivers here, I mean, we're going to have a lot to pick from. Conception, Zachariah Branch, who just got in trouble, so we'll see on that. Jermaine Bernard, you got a lot of people to pick from there, so it's be very interesting what they do, to be honest with you, for being very, very honest. And then you got, to wrap it up, we talked about the Patriots with the Brown trade. Seahawks, what do? They just lost Kenneth Walker. They're kind of retooling. You win the Super Bowl and then you lose. And then you lose like your MVP, which I thought was very weird. But it's be very interesting where they go, right? Very interesting where they go. I'm going to go with... This would be kind of a trade out, I think, for me. If they do trade out, I would not be surprised. But I would not be surprised if they go defense or offense. I think they're okay on offense. I think they go defense. I won't be surprised if they went linebacker or they went like some type of cornerback or defensive tackle. I think you see them go defensive tackle in that draft. All right, we got through it. We got through my mock draft a little bit. As I know, I'm sorry, I was kind of not speeding through, but kind of just looking at stuff, trying to go back and forth, but trying to just get everything in that I can, especially being a one-man wrecking crew this week. So I just wanted to say thank you for joining us. Don't forget, next week we are live right here on YouTube to wrap everything up about the draft. If everything works out, fingers crossed, my good friend Jose Pagan's going to be here to wrap it all up with me, to talk about some of the big things that happened in the draft, talk about the Browns and how they went, etc., etc. We're excited. I'm sorry if it felt rushed today. It was just kind of, we had everything, sorry if it felt rushed. We had everything planned this week, and then, obviously stuff happened where we couldn't get, people on and all that, so I was kind of wanted to start here. So I thought it went well. Sorry if I feel rushed. I will do better, especially if I'm by myself. I promise we're working on that. But I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in each and every single day. We wish you the best. We will see you next week on the final whistle live show right here on YouTube. Do not forget it. Goodbye. We love you. We'll see you soon.